are quite good. Attack warning. Is it for real? Attack warning. It's for bloody real.
Live from Colorado Springs, the Drop Culture Podcast.
Want to confirm, is this an exercise? Roger, copy. This is not an exercise.
Come on, quick, get down. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome, everybody, to the Drop Culture Podcast. This is that podcast where we pick up that piece of drop culture. Yeah, I'm starting over. Throw me out of time there so that you have it.
We'll just do the countdown.
Okay.
5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everybody, to the Drop Culture Podcast. This is that podcast where we pick up that piece of pop culture you forgot about or missed, shine it up real nice, and cram it in your ear holes. I'm Dan.
I'm Brock.
And Brock, we're going to do something a little different. First of all, welcome back.
Welcome back. Just like a whole bunch of, it's a room full of Mr. Cotters.
That's right. That's right. If only I could grow that fro.
Mr. Cotter.
Mr. Cartier.
Yeah, so what are we doing? What are we doing this week?
So we're going to do something a little different. We're diving into some comic books this week.
Yes.
Don't worry, kids. We're not going to stop doing movies. This is just something we wanted to do.
That one dude's all, yes.
Thank God.
Woo.
So what we did for this one, we each picked a limited series of comic books. These are not current. These are older. Not too old, I don't think, for either one of us. And we're just going to go through them and talk about them.
Yeah, kind of hopefully wet your beak, per se.
That
you might check
there.
these out.
Yeah,
you might check these out a little bit.
So. And,
Well, what we're going to do on this is, it'll be more of a roundtable discussion, but each one of us will introduce, whenever it's our turn, which series that we want the other one. Because my series you didn't read, right?
Not at all. But
Yeah.
I told you about mine. You read it, right? 'Cause you were on that DC app.
Mm-hmm. And shout out to DC Comics. Okay.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this will be a DC-centric one, too.
It is. It is. Yeah.
It's odd.
Well, for us, a little bit.
I don't know if it's odd. It's just odd that they're both DC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of makes sense for like us personally. You know what I mean? It would kind of start there, I think.
Yeah.
Just because what we've been reading and what we've been seeing here lately.
Sure.
It's natural.
That's natural.
It's natural. Just don't touch it. It'll make you go blind. So, you want to start off with yours? Because you got two different series, right?
Well, we're just going to do one today.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So,
Because I wanted to make sure that for our third piece of this show, normally going forward when we do these, we'll each do a series of some sort or a limited run of some sort. And then at the end of every episode, we're going to do a what if comic. Because I always think those are fun, and then we can also talk about how you would expand off that if that was actually canon in the universe.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I'm sorry, my mic. Out.
He's playing. His mic's just fine.
No, it is.
Yeah, I can kick us off if you'd like.
Yes, go for it. Go for it.
I chose a little limited series called Batman Cacophony. This came out in the end of 2008. It was in November, wrapped up in January of 2009.
It shows March due to delays with part 3.
That's right. Yeah. 3 came out a little bit late because they, DC. Always known to get books in on time.
Yeah.
Especially like if you were waiting around for
forever.
What was the Watchmen one?
Doomsday Clock.
Yeah. Ugh.
Fucking took like 2 years for it to get through 12 issues, man.
Well, luckily this was only 3 issues.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 13, 14 years ago. So
so
we got them all. I've got them physically in front of me, in my hands, in my hot little hands.
They're fucking awesome.
They're
good. Really good. Who wrote this?
You guys might have heard of this guy. His name is Kevin Smith. You might have heard him from like, a movie like Mallrats or Clerks.
And we talk about him all the fucking time.
Or, this is not the first thing he's written by any means. He really, for DC, I think Green Arrow was his first real stint at writing.
Yes.
Which brings in a character that he created into this book, actually, named Automatopoeia.
Yes.
And as you can imagine, with a name like Automatopoeia, everything he does, he pretty much makes the sound that it would make.
And I didn't understand that at first until like I reread, the shit.
Until you looked up what automatopoeia meant?
No. Back in the day, whenever I was reading it, I was like, what the fuck is automatopoeia, right? And then, kind of getting it, and I was like, oh, I get it.
I get it.
Yeah. When did he appear? When was his first one?
It was
Green Arrow number 12.
12, yeah.
That's what I thought, yeah. Because that series that Kevin Smith did, I still stand behind as being one of the best. And it's because I am biased.
I would say if I was choosing any Green Arrow run or limited anything, it would probably be Longbow Hunters.
Yeah, that's one of
which
the
was
fucking best.
Badass.
That one, or even whenever he's touring the country with fucking Green Arrow before he died, or Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Where it's like the 70s and he's trying to clean up the streets.
That was close to the time, right before the time, really, when Red Arrow was on the drugs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I think he slapped him around and said, "Get the fuck out," because that's what you do to people on drugs. That's a good way to help them out.
Get out of my house.
Awesome.
Don't fire your weapon.
What? Okay, so what is this story about? What's involved with this?
So, okay. Well, before we get to that, because we got to talk about who the artist is, too.
Oh, yes.
So, Kevin Smith obviously has written a lot of comics. He wrote one of my favorite runs of Daredevil.
Yep.
He's done, like we said, the Green Arrow. And this is Batman Cacophony. And I don't think that this was the last thing he wrote for Batman, because I think that he did a story in, I don't know if it was in Batman 1000 or one of those collection things.
Probably.
I think. Yeah. Don't quote me on that. But this was, I think, the first time he ever wrote Batman, as far as I know.
I'm looking at it while you describe it.
Yeah, that's fine. And then the penciler on this is actually Walt Flanagan. Can you tell us a little bit about Walt Flanagan, Brock?
Walt Flanagan is one of Kevin Smith's oldest friends from back in the day. And he worked with Kevin at their local community center.
Yeah.
And that's where he met Jay, and he met pretty much everybody. Brian, anybody that was a part of the View Askew universe
Yes.
was basically there. And, of course, Brian's the what do you call him? He's the inspiration for Randall. Kevin Smith is the inspiration for Dante. Yeah. And he's been in everything. Walt Flanagan played, he was pretty much, in Clerks, he played at least 7 or 8 different characters. It was
like 4 or 5, but it's probably more, yeah.
And even in the new one, he plays the Eggman again,
Nice.
and it's fucking awesome because he takes a selfie with an egg. And it's fucking great. You're like, man, Walt Flanagan's awesome. But they have their own show, Tell Him Steve Dave, because that's where they got that one was from, is literally they had a comic book shop because Flanagan... He basically introduced Kevin Smith back to comics,
right?
And that's how they fucking did everything.
Yep.
And then, of course, Kevin Smith famously sold his comic book collection. There's a couple of places in Red Bank, I guess, because they didn't have the internet and shit like that we had here. So this was like 88, 89 and shit, And so they would go all these different places. And there's one place that he didn't know his name. The owner's name, so he would say Steve Dave really fast because he didn't know who it was, and I think he said he ran out of him. But Walt Flanagan, after Kevin Smith, kind of took off after that, and Mallrats flopped. Clerks was a fucking success, badass indie film. Mallrats, which is one of everybody's favorite comedy films, but again, it flopped in the cinemas and everything. And he bought a comic book store. Which was one of the old ones they went to for like $30,000.
Nice.
All inventory and everything.
Wow.
So they redid it. He was living right above it. It was somewhere on one of Red Bank's.
And he was on Comic Book Men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When Kevin Smith bought the comic book place, he was like, hey, I want you to run it. We always talked about this. But Walt Flanagan at that point was like, you know what? I don't want to do it because I'm about to have a kid, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do that shit. Well, eventually he talked him into it and they had the secret stash.
Right.
One of the first things that I think that Flanagan did as far as like artwork was the Cryptozoic Man.
Okay.
And that was, they showed that on Comic Book Man.
Okay.
And, if you know anything about him, you know his laugh is the one that you can always pick out of anything, you know. And I didn't know he was really that big of an artist until seeing this Cacophony. So they had a huge history together, and it's really cool. And that's one cool part about like that View Ascooniverse type deal is everybody stayed together, which is fucking cool.
It was a lot of picking each other up kind of things.
Yeah.
Like, or if I'm gonna go, you're gonna go up with me kind of
Correct.
deal.
Yeah,
which is how it should be, and I think that's
the shit.
Kevin
you know?
Smith's like, I know he's a little bit older than we are, but like kind of generationally we're kind of in that world, right?
Yeah, yeah. And he's really not that much older than us. I don't think
He's
any
in
of
his
them are.
50s somewhere.
Yeah, he's 52.
Okay.
He was born in 1970, so he's about 10 years older than me. You know, 9 years, whatever. But yeah, no, I mean,
but I think like if you have, especially if you come from, I don't know how to say it, it's not necessarily a small community, but smaller community. Like you're not in New York, you're not in LA, not in Chicago. You have those people that you grow up around that you have those really strong bonds, right? And especially when you're all interested in the same kinds of things.
right.
You come up together, right? Like everything should be a helping hand up. Like
That's the coolest part.
which is what Kevin Smith has done.
And from everything that I've heard is all those guys, whenever they go to all the cons and everything, they're all so fucking cool.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everybody's really like personable, everything like that. You know,
They're down to earth people. Yeah.
So it really sounds like you can kind of get along with them. And also, Kevin Smith makes badass movies, especially Red State, which is one of the greatest movies of all time.
The most underrated Kevin Smith movie too. Like when I
Ever.
talk to people, they're like, "What Red State?"
What's Red State?
And I'm
Yeah.
like,
They had no, I don't think they had distribution, but that's a podcast for another time.
day. Yeah, because that's not what we're talking about today.
Yes, no.
We're talking about Batman Cacophony.
Yes.
So
yes.
this series starts out with Deadshot, and you guys, for you that don't read comics, and you probably remember Deadshot as Will Smith's character in Suicide Squad. For those of you that do read comics, you know who Floyd Lautner is.
Yep.
And he's breaking in to kill the Joker in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, on just like a regular night.
He's got a job.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a job to do.
Yeah, they introduce it as in nobody's stupid enough to break into Arkham, so there's nobody at the front gates.
Well, they even mentions that like there were cuts, so they right?
Yeah, so they got rid of the front guy.
Yeah. And then eventually there was two longtime
Employees.
guards.
Yeah.
And so they let him go, and one of them like was struggling. The other one's like just put an ad in the paper and got what he wanted out of it because somebody's like, "What kind of information do you have about
Yes,
Arkham?"
Exactly.
And he's
exactly.
like, "Well, let me tell you."
and that's the introduction to the writing is if you read any of Kevin Smith's stuff, he is very, very, very God, how do you say it? The books are very vocal.
Yes.
And very thick with dialogue.
Well, and some people, that was one of the downsides that people had said about this comic was that Batman was too wordy.
And but Batman can be anything, and that's what's really cool about comics and writing limited series is you can throw in your own part to it. Yeah, you got to stick with the ears and the fucking symbol, but at the same time, you can insert yourself into this, which everybody does.
Well, I don't think that he's ever not Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
But I could see that like some of his conversations are a little bit longer than you expect Batman conversations to be.
Yeah,
I get
but
that.
It would be really cool to hear Batman kind of be a little bit more open, but that's not his character 100%. Yeah.
Right. He breaks in and like him and Joker are having a conversation while he's like planting an explosive to take out the thing, and Joker's like, I didn't do anything. What are you coming to kill me for?
Yeah.
And he tells him about Maxie Zeus, who is a older villain. That's like a villain that's been around quite a while for Batman.
Yeah.
And basically he's taken the Joker venom and turned it into a drug.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Yeah. Well, Maxie Zeus is kind of like he's a D-lister
Oh,
villain.
Yeah.
Because he speaks like he's an ancient god or some shit like that, but yet he's a normal everyday man.
Yeah.
But he's on a lot of drugs in this. That's what we find out.
Yeah.
And they let him go. So he's actually normal.
Right. So Joker's pissed off about that when he's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
He's like, wait a minute, you're using my shit for fucking profit? Why the fuck didn't I think about this shit?
So just as Deadshot's about to kill the Joker, he gets shot in the head. And blood comes out, and he falls down dead.
Looks like he's dead as fuck. Yeah.
And we see Automatopoeia, which was the character that Kevin Smith created for Green Arrow.
Right.
And if you guys aren't familiar with him, he's all in black. He's got that centrifugal circle on his face over the black hood.
He wears a trench coat.
Yeah, he wears a trench coat.
And he just announces everything after it happens. So
Yeah,
if somebody
he's going to shoot somebody, he's like, bang.
Yeah. He'll hear you'll see the bang and you'll hear it in real life, but then you'll hear him say bang.
Yeah.
Or like crinkle, crinkle. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck?
There's a reason his name's Automatopoeia.
Yeah.
So he turns it. Maxie Zeus had turned his Joker's drug into, or Joker's venom into a designer drug. Then like basically Automatopoeia and Joker escape. Joker's still in like the hospital garb,
Arkham garb. Yeah.
And Automatopoeia hands him a briefcase full of money. And this is where there's probably the weirdest scene, where Joker's like thinks they're gonna have anal sex.
Yeah, he's like, here, let me pull my pants down.
He's like, if this what this money's for? He's like, don't tell Tetch. He's been trying to do this for a long time. And this is this scene. I'm going to stop it right there. And then we're still in the first book, right? There's 3 books.
Yes.
This is where like his humor, the Joker's humor in this, so much reminded me of Randall.
Yeah.
From Clerks. I was like, oh my God, dude. It's like Dante and Dante and Randall.
Yeah. It's like them both together.
I'm trying to remember exactly what he says when he's up against a tree, because that's probably the coolest part.
It's so funny because he does like drop trowel.
Oh, 100%. He just starts unbuttoning and he's like, seduced and abandoned.
He's like, I guess that's not going to happen.
Right.
Which is weird, but that's, the dick and fart joke part of it.
Right. It's Kevin Smith. What do you expect? Come on.
Right.
Some of that. And then the next scene that we get is where Victor Zsasz is killed 2 people and they're in bed and there's a child in there and Batman comes to break it up.
Yep.
And he does so.
Yep.
And that's Walt Flanagan's Zsasz is strange looking. Even stranger looking than regular Zsasz.
Yeah, and that goes along because like the cover art was done by like Joe Kubert, things like that, or Kubert, and they were all done differently. But like Walt Flanagan's, his artwork is really cool. It's different because it's not like streamlined like a McFarlane or something like that. So it's independent and it's really good.
Right.
You can tell that he's still working on all of his stuff. If he were to do that all the time, fucking A, be badass, So I have nothing bad to say about it. I'm just like, oh yeah, I kind of noticed the differences between like what he would do versus like a, of course a George Perez, but
sure.
He has his own style, which is good.
For sure. So our next scene is Batman saves the kid and he beats Zsasz, comes down, and then we are in the back of the ambulance that's taking Floyd Lautner away because he gets told that, about the whole break-in and all that.
Right.
And we see Deadshot get up. And he's like, and Batman's actually like, that's kind of brilliant.
Yeah.
He's like, you used a blood packet and a bullet, extra bulletproofing in your helmet.
Yeah. You lined your helmet with that the extra level, not necessarily Kevlar, but
I don't think he says just bulletproofing or whatever.
It made it to where it was like, holy shit, he's really dead, but he's really not. So Batman does use that too, huh?
Yeah. Well, he learns a trick or two.
Yeah.
Right down the road. And then the final scene of this book, really, I think that's where it ends. No, not quite. We get Maxie Zeus, and he's being interviewed by the news.
Mm-hmm.
About like basically his reformation, like well, you don't think you're a god anymore,
he's
you
like,
know?
no, I'm a normal dude.
Yeah, I had some problems. I had a psychotic break, and
Yeah.
now, blah, 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 blah.
I'm an old teacher.
Right. And while he's on the news, that's when he finds out the Joker's out and after him.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bad way to start. So he gets like, hey, you have to go. Like his guy comes in, tells Maxie Zeus he has to go. Come to find out, Joker's gone to the school where his nephew's at and taken all the kids hostage. Because,
It's fucking Joker.
fucking Joker.
Joker would do all that shit.
That's right. And as they're walking out, they make a little deal, and they're walking out, and they're talking, and the whole thing explodes with all the kids and everything in it. But I think they had gotten everyone else except for that class out, they said earlier.
Yeah.
So that kind of ends the first issue.
Yeah, it's fucking a
It's a
lot.
pretty good setup, though.
Yeah.
Pretty good setup.
For the rest of it, because Automatopoeia, you can already kind of tell that he's leading everything. I think in this, because he shows up in very, very small parts in the first one.
Yeah, I think you don't necessarily know he's leading it, but you think,
What's he got to do?
yeah,
with
there's
this?
something. Yeah. Why is he even involved? Why did he give
Yeah.
Joker a bunch of money? Why is this,
I immediately, like, after he shot Deadshot, I was like, I think he's. I was like, I think he's fucking like planning all of this shit. Like he's doing something. To
Which he
get
really
Batman.
was. He's just trying to draw Batman out. That's
Yeah.
his whole idea. Because as we find out, Onomatopoeia has been killing non-powered superheroes.
Yeah, forever.
And collecting their masks.
Yeah, forever. And it's a whole bunch of D-listers.
Yeah.
It's like the dude next door that's got a fucking rocket pack.
Exactly. Yes. So then we go into book 2, and that's where we're at the club. And dude's like mixing the things. He's got the Batmite hat
Yeah.
head on.
Yeah.
And he's the DJ. And lo and behold, it's the Joker.
Yeah.
And he starts killing everybody with a flamethrower.
It's fucking crazy.
As you do, because you're the Joker. And Batman comes in and fights him. And then Maxie Zeus is back to being crazy god guy wearing a toga. And
Yeah, he's got, and everybody's like fucking, all of his bodyguards are like, Jesus Christ, he's back.
yeah, there's some really, that's one thing I will say. Kevin Smith, his writing is perfect for like the henchmen. And things.
Yeah.
I love to hear that conversation that you don't always hear, right?
You only get to see them. They're like, hey, go get me this. And they're like, yes, sir, boss.
Yes, Bob. I'm Bob the Goon.
Yeah, and these, they're like, dude, he's losing it again. Are you gonna fucking say something to him this time? Fuck. But they made a shitload of money off the drug and everything.
Yeah.
And
He was doing he built his empire back up.
Mm-hmm. So
'Cause
he could
lost
become
it all when he was gone to prison.
Yeah, and he could become fucking Maxie Zeus again,
Right.
Which is a weird character to bring in, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because they did bring in this really obscure character. It's almost like who was the one that the arcade dude?
Arcade?
Yeah.
From Marvel?
Yeah. What is
Yeah.
like kind of like him. I was like, what the fuck is that dude here?
Well,
Pinball wizard.
There's some stuff getting ready to come out with him, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Arcade, you never know how bad. There's like one limited edition, maybe limited series, something that had him in it. And I was like, okay, this guy's evil as fuck. But most of them, it's just kind of campy.
Oh, I gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we've got him flame throwing around. Batman comes in, starts kicking Joker's ass, and then Automatopoeia comes up and shoots Batman in the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
You know what he says?
Ouch.
Blam. And then that's actually probably one of the better fights in this is the Automatopoeia Batman fight.
Yeah.
In the fire, and they just go at each other. And then everybody escapes. Like basically the whole building starts coming down. Automatopoeia escapes, and then we're back with Batman, and he's like, who is this guy? And that's when we start learning that he's killing all these non-powered superheroes.
Right. He's going after the vigilantes himself.
Yeah, non-powered vigilantes.
Yeah. And
specifically. But there's some question on the Automatopoeia character on whether he has any superpowers.
right.
And if you've read the stuff from Green Arrow, I'm pretty sure he is enhanced. And he mentions that. I think that Ollie mentions that.
Yeah.
Because he regenerates a little bit.
Yeah.
And
In a
he's
way.
stronger
Yeah.
than he should be.
I need to reread those two.
Yeah.
Just
It's
on
been a
that.
while. It's been a while. Maxie Zeus loses his mind. He's going to kill everybody.
Yeah. And the Joker's kind of hanging back with
Correct.
this whole deal because he knows, everybody knows what's going to be happening next.
That's right.
And they kind of set it up in that way to where you even know everybody knows and everybody knows you know that this shit's happening.
Well, and the next scene is really cool because like this is where we have that henchman conversation.
Yeah.
And then they're like, look, you should go in here with all these girls. And there's like 8 girls in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I should be here with these virgins. Blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah,
but
blah,
they're,
blah.
yeah.
And he's just like, shuts the door. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now,
And he
this
says
is what
something
we
like,
need to do.
yeah, he's like, virgins don't cost by the hour.
Yeah.
Don't charge by the hour.
Exactly. And while he's in there with the virgins, guess what happens? Oh, the Batman comes.
Mm-hmm.
Grabs him by his freaking throat. And so they have a conversation, and he's like, you got to take your drugs off the street, blah, 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 blah. This is why he's coming for you. What were you thinking? You know, you think the Joker would be okay with this?
Right.
Which obviously he's not. And then we get the scene of Automatopoeia in a hotel room with a girl.
Yeah.
And like he's getting his woobity on, obviously. And she's obviously a hooker as well.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, you want to go some more? And
Yeah,
I'll
here's
charge
this-
you half price for the next hour, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
If you want to use this mask, I see
Yeah.
what.
And then he just kills her.
Yeah.
There you go.
So the dude's, it's weird because you don't know much about him.
Right.
You know, he's just been there for a long time, you know?
That's right. And I think Bruce or Batman talked Maxie Zeus into turning himself in, or he took him in. I don't remember which. And so you see the scene of the Gotham City police, and like there's just police out all around it. So what's Joker do? He parachutes down to where the
bat
signal is, you know, as you do.
Smart.
Yeah. Nobody saw that happening.
No, I know why.
Stealth parachute. So Batman goes down there. They fight. Or up there. And that's where he picks fucking Joker up by his nostrils.
Yeah.
Sticks his fingers in his nostrils and picks him up.
Yeah, like
would hurt.
I mean, he's going to kick the shit out of him,
Yeah.
which he already has, and he knew that was going to happen. He knew he was going to try to go up there specifically.
And as they're fighting, the bat signal gets shattered. And you turn around and there's Automatopoeia holding 2 guns.
Yep,
And that's the end of the second.
you're ready for this fight.
And you're like, oh my God, they're going to fight. Let's go.
I got to wait 6 more months.
Little did I know, number 3 wouldn't come out until March.
Yes. I want to see this.
So in like while Automatopoeia's got everybody distracted, Joker picks up a piece of the bat signal and jams it into Bruce's leg.
Yeah.
Batman's leg. That
Of
looked
course.
like it hurt.
Yeah, of course.
And as he does that, Automatopoeia shoots Batman in the head. Aha.
And we're thinking, holy fuck, Batman's dead.
Batman's dead at the beginning of issue 3?
There's no fucking way, right?
Well, of course not. You know why? Because he learned a thing or two from Deadshot.
he thought it was genius that he had that shit in his helmet. So
really-
he could take a shot.
Yeah, he's like, wow, okay.
I could take a shot to the head now.
And not only that he took a shot, but then people would think that he was dead, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
That's the other side of
Especially with the blood pack in it and everything. So, ugh.
it. Exactly. So they're like, oh, look at the blood coming out of his head. And then, you know, like, so there's like some distraction. Automatopoeia's like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Joker, I think, punches him in the face, right? And then escapes,
Yeah.
tries to escape. And then that's when Batman stands back up. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
Thought I was dead. And they're in the rain, of course.
Yeah. And of course, he breaks his arm or his hand.
His hand, yeah.
He breaks his hand, his right hand. And so Automatopoeia is still all fucked up and shit like that, you know?
But doesn't he get up and just snap it back in?
Nah, it's still broken for
Like,
a long
no,
time.
I know it's
Yeah,
broken,
yeah.
but I mean, I think that's what he does when he stands up. Like,
Yeah, he still doesn't use it. It shows him holding it kind of onto
Yeah.
the side. Yeah. Yeah.
and then so it's Joker and Automatopoeia going up against Batman. They decide they're going to team up,
Yeah.
and then Automatopoeia turns around and stabs Joker right in the chest.
Mm-hmm. Get him out. He's got to get fucking him out of the way.
Well, not just that, because he leaves Batman with a choice he knows that Batman's going to make.
Yeah.
You can either come after me, or you can save him.
Yep.
Because he's going to die. Because he, like, cuts him pretty good.
And this is a really good kind of like, I don't know, this is one of those morality things for the Batman. Even though the Joker has killed hundreds, thousands of people all the time, he's got a choice. Go after the fucking main villain that you're after, the one that's still standing, or you save the life of your arch nemesis because of your code.
Well, and even Jim Gordon tries to talk him out of it. He's like,
"Hey,
just go after him.
Just leave him here."
He goes, I'm not asking you to kill him.
Yeah.
I'm just asking you not to do anything about it.
Yeah. And which is fucking crazy, you know, because...
Well, you think this is after
Yeah.
Babs got shot and paralyzed, right?
Yeah.
And I've been reading a lot of Red Hood lately, so I'm kind of on board with why haven't you just killed this dude already?
Right, exactly. Well, that, and I think...
And if you read Injustice, you know that's his fault too.
Yeah, that's
You know?
that's one of the main things that keeps the Batman mythos strong and going is because of his strong moral code.
Sure.
And the books where he doesn't have it, you're like, holy shit, that dude's savage. Just
That's
like
right.
fucking like the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
He ends up killing Joker anyway, you
Yep.
know. Yeah.
But I wonder, like, what the body count would be. Let's say he killed Joker after Jason Todd died, right?
Yeah.
Because he had the opportunity.
Again, yeah.
And how many lives would he have saved?
Fuck.
Just since Jason Todd
Yeah.
died. Now I'm talking about like the early stuff.
Yeah, and even if you look at some of the Elseworld stuff, like what do you call it? Fucking Kingdom Come.
Sure.
He plays a little part in it, which Superman actually ends up killing the Joker, which pushes him almost out of everything, and he disappears because the Joker killed so many people at the Daily Planet, which is kind of fucked
Think
up.
about Injustice.
See?
So that Joker was the one that made Superman hallucinate so that he thought he was fighting Doomsday and he was really killing Lois Lane and she was pregnant with his kid.
Damn, see? Savage.
So then he like fucking flips out and he just puts his whole arm through Joker, you know? And then he's bad Superman from now on.
Yeah,
you know?
see, and
regime or whatever.
yeah, even though the Joker is a fucking piece of shit, like literally one of the most. Yeah, anybody that writes him can write him as dirty, fucking horrible, just anything, cutting his own fucking face off and shit. You know?
I specifically read that run maybe a week ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fucking crazy. And anybody that writes him can actually make him crazy, or they can make him comical. But it's like almost like comedian in a way, which he gets the joke, but nobody else really gets the same joke,
Right.
you know?
Sure.
But he knows that it's all really, he's like, what the fuck is the purpose?
That's right.
Let's fucking do whatever we want to.
So we get the next scene where Matches Malone, the secret identity of Bruce Wayne / Batman when he's like talking to organized crime folk.
Yeah.
Usually. So he comes in with his shitty mustache and his sunglasses and his weird hair.
He didn't wear a baseball cap and sunglasses.
No. Just the sunglasses. And of course he shows up to Joker's, hospital room.
And he's reading The Fountainhead again.
Yes.
He was reading it in the first issue.
That's right. When he was in the jail still.
Yeah.
He was still in Arkham.
And he's like, I'm never going to finish this.
Stupid beard, dude.
Yeah.
That was the one thing
was
I was
bad.
like, God, that's terrible. Walt Flanagan, what were you thinking?
Made him more real. Shit.
Maybe.
Does the Joker shave? That is a question. There's a lot of normal questions.
That's
How
true.
does Batman pee in the suit? Does he have a fucking fly?
He's got a catheter.
Does he?
I don't know.
See? What happens if he gets
Maybe he
hit
just
so
pulls
hard?
his pants down and takes a piss.
Yeah, what if he gets hit in the fucking kidney
got
so
the belt.
bad he's peeing blood and shit, or he
Well,
gets
what if anybody in it?
right, but like he's a costumed adventurer, so there's got to be something. Like, does he stop and eat like fucking lunch? When he's out, he's like, I'll get a bite to eat
probably
later.
just got something in his bat belt, his
Yeah.
utility belt. He's like, that's protein.
Yeah, do you think he's on a rooftop and he's like, man, I could use a fucking Danish right now? He's like, it's like, hey, man. They're like, oh, man, it's a fucking Batman.
Batman's back. Hey,
All right.
free Danish for
Yeah.
Batman.
He's like, can I get one of those? No. Yeah, you can, Batman. Whatever you want,
Look,
man.
I made one in the shape of a bat for you.
See, and that's the thing. It's like those little bitty things that a lot of people don't think about, which that's pretty cool. That's
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's the
It's just
thing that's
gross.
off-putting is that it's like black,
yes.
and he's got the green hair.
Yeah,
you know.
So his natural hair is black. You know,
according to Walt Flanagan.
yeah.
And
Well,
Kevin
if they
Smith.
go by what Alan Moore did in The Killing Joke,
yeah,
you don't see the Joker before the Joker. Because it's all in black and white.
right.
So you never really... I mean, I like how they leave it ambiguous like that. Especially in that run.
Yeah.
And then also in this, shit, they're just pulling that stuff out. Like, I mean, when does Bruce Wayne shave? Every day? Every other day?
Unless he's dressing up like Matches Malone.
There you go.
So in this, basically, Batman comes to talk to him, and he's like, "I'm tired of us trying to kill each other." You know,
Yeah.
like he's trying to be all kumbaya with him.
Well, what's really cool, too, is the Joker knows it's him. He's like, hey,
Oh, yeah.
how about we stop this?
Yeah, he knows right away that it's
Yeah. Put on your clothes.
Well, he even says Matches Malone.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
put
with
on your
quotey
real
fingers.
clothes, please.
Yeah.
And
And then he steps behind a curtain and comes out as Batman.
Yeah. And even Joker was like, hey, I don't want to make this sound weird, but I saw your weenus. What?
Kevin Smith.
Yes, exactly. I just got I got a glimpse of your penis.
But he says, "Do you really want to kill me?"
Yeah.
You know, like, which is weird because it depends on who writes Batman. Sometimes that's not Joker's. He's like, "No, you're like, how could I do what I do without you?" You
Right.
know? But in this one, he's like he lets him tell him the whole story, and then he's like, "Well, you know, I sympathize about that." Like, he does. He shows him some empathy.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "But I really do want to kill you."
Yeah.
He goes, "What you don't understand is I'm not crazy."
I don't hate you because I'm crazy.
Right.
I'm crazy
because I hate you.
Yes. That really kind of says it all, you know? And he even says, too, that he would stop once Batman's gone because he won't have
Batman's
anything.
dead. Yeah.
All of his hate is always directed at him, and everything that he does is kind of a direct reflection on how much he fucking hates him, you know?
Yep.
And he'll do anything to get fucking by everything. And then they're both like, well, shit. It's like one of those fucking things. It's like, okay, I guess it's never going to be over.
And Batman goes back to Wayne Manor and kind of downloads with Alfred what transpired, basically.
Yeah.
And then the next scene's a scene I really like because we see this taxi cab pulling up to this house and there's this little family and they're waving to the dad. And he's got a broken hand. He's like in a cast and he's got this tennis racket. They don't really explain it, but he's just like, eh.
Yeah, and also the automatopoeia mask
Well,
is all ripped before he gets there, and they show it. Yeah.
So like after he meets with his family and does everything, and then you go in and he's got a little like mannequin head that he puts the automatopoeia tour mask on, and you're like,
Yes.
this dude's got like a regular family in the
Right.
burbs.
Yeah.
And then they show that whole bookcase with all the vigilantes' masks that he's killed.
Yeah, and he's in the one for the Batman is empty.
Yep.
And there's another one that's empty too.
Yeah, there's actually 3 that are empty.
Yeah.
The very top one, the Batman one, and then there's one in the bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, yeah. And I was gonna research and see how many of those
More than that, actually.
fucking all the dudes or all the masks that were up there.
Yeah.
I wanted to see who they really were, you know, and if they existed.
Yeah, they weren't super recognizable. You know what I mean?
I don't think
Like,
I
to me.
recognized really one of them, honestly.
I think I recognized from earlier, like there was a couple of them that they showed up on the screen when Batman was looking, but I didn't know those characters necessarily.
Yeah.
So that kind of wraps up the whole book, and I thought it was really good. Different
Yeah.
kind of Batman book.
And it does have a lot, and that's another thing that I like about Kevin Smith's writing is, of course, his dialogue.
Right.
That is always something that you're
gonna get good with him for sure.
He's a good writer. You put what you know into your writing, and if
Sure.
it's good and people like it, why the fuck not? Why
Yeah.
try to make yourself out to be something else?
No, I agree.
Yeah, and imagine what he would write if he had parameters.
Right.
Like you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do this and you can't do that. What?
I think he would probably be like, "Fuck
Nah.
this."
Nah, I don't think I'm going to do anything. You know?
He always talks about going, like when he's directed episodes, he did a few of like Supergirl and stuff like that, and he's like, Everybody's like, thanks for coming. He's like, I don't do anything. I
Yeah.
just show up. They've been doing this show for like 4 seasons.
All I got to do is be like, okay, go.
Go. Oh, not that. Okay, great.
We're good. I got to eat my salad.
So obviously these aren't super old, 2008.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always like to look at when I'm reading comics, though, is the adverts on the back.
Ooh.
So let me give you the trio. In number 1, we got the Blu-ray for The Dark Knight.
Ooh.
Christian Bale.
That's number 2, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, number 2. Number 1, we had little. You might have heard of this movie. I think it was kind of popular. It's called Twilight.
Oh my God. Is that from my favorite book series?
I think so.
Holy
And
shit.
then the last one, you might not know, or you might know about a little movie called Push.
Never watched it.
Really?
Never watched
It's
it.
actually pretty good. Chris Evans, I believe.
Is it?
And yeah, Chris Evans and Dakota Fanning's the little girl in it. He's got superpower.
Oh, geez.
He can push stuff with his mind like telekinesis.
Geez, you just pushed it.
Overall, I thought it was pretty good. Some of the writing, like you can definitely tell it's
Yeah.
Kevin Smith.
I like the limited series. I thought it was, it was welcomed because of the characters that I didn't really know too much, and an original character, which I thought was fucking badass. And if he ever does anything else, related to DC or anything, it would be so cool if he brought his own character every time.
It was kind of cool that he picked up his own character that he created from Green Arrow and was like, well, I'm going to use him in Batman.
That
now.
would be fucking awesome.
Why wouldn't you? Why would you not?
If you like that character and that character is pretty cool, it's different, but they don't overuse him.
Right.
Zaz is in everything.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he literally is.
Zaz is always the character that Batman's going after at the beginning.
Yeah. It's
I
always
think
the
even
easy
in my
one.
movie pitch when we were talking about that, I was like, I would just have him go after Zaz at the beginning.
Yeah, that's
that
always
makes
how it
sense.
is. Yeah,
because he's a threat. He's a big threat, but he's just a psycho. Like there's nothing like he just uses a knife and he kills people.
right.
You know what I mean? So it's not like he's not like a mastermind
Nice.
necessarily. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. He's not like Mm-mm.
He's not coming up with a big plot. He just likes to kill people and sometimes eat them. It's facts.
so fucking weird.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good. I think I read somewhere that it had like an 8.3 or something on IGN as far as a rating for that limited series.
Yeah.
So I recommend it.
Oh yeah, big
it
time.
out.
Batman Cacophony.
Cacophony.
Good fucking good story. Good all around everything. I'm glad it was limited and it didn't fucking drag on for 6, 8, 10 issues.
So that's something I've been finding recently that I've been collecting more. It's like
Smaller
I
runs?
want a small run of something, maybe 4 to 8 issues rather. For depending on what it is. It's not like I'm collecting like Atlantis Attacks, which was like in every annual that came out that year.
Yeah.
It was terrible anyways.
Well, yeah. Well, think about like the first time the Punisher really hit, they did 2 miniseries,
Yeah.
4 issues, and that fucking skyrocketed that shit. Wolverine
Yeah. Got some of those.
issues, the very very small runs, and those are fucking badass, you know, and then they oversaturate the fuck out of everything,
Well,
which you do.
Punisher and Wolverine specifically.
Yeah, big time. They're
Like,
they're
especially from the 90s on, they were like everything.
everything's a Punisher.
Yeah, if it doesn't have the Punisher or Wolverine on it, how will it ever sell?
Yeah, and you know what? Todd McFarlane did it.
Yeah.
He used Wolverine in the first 4 or 5 issues. Well, he came in issue number 4 in Spider-Man.
Right.
Kind of on, and you're like, holy shit, fucking, he's got Wolverine in here. Who wouldn't pick
sells.
Wolverine? He's a badass.
Sure.
And so is the Punisher. But like you said, those miniseries are really good.
Well, it gives you a place to start and finish. Like it's hard to collect, 200 issues of this comic, especially if it's a comic that started in like the 60s, right? Makes it a lot harder.
It's fucking difficult.
So this is kind of a fun way to be like, oh well, like there's 4 or 5 I'm looking for all the time. And it's usually like I just need 1 or 2 issues from each one.
Right.
So it gives me something to look for. It gives me something to read when I get them all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I have a lot of them where I'm like, I'm not reading it until I get that other fucking comic.
right.
So I've had like some of them for like a year. And I'm like,
Yeah,
if I could just find that. Of course, I could go on eBay and order, but that's not fun. You know, it gives me a good reason to stop in these little local stores that I go by.
Yeah, you have the opportunities for that. Here, I have the opportunity to go dig through the boxes, but
Right.
I like to utilize eBay in a way because it's way better than anything else.
Oh, I'm not hating on you.
No.
I'm
Of
just
course,
saying
of course.
specifically for these kind of comics.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't need one in 9.8 grade. I want one I can sit and physically read.
Yeah, that's what they're about. You know,
Yeah.
comic books are about reading.
So most of
and
those
shit.
comics that I have, like I think even my Cacophonies would probably be like an 8.5. I'm not getting them graded anyways. I
Right.
just want to read them.
Yeah, they're yours. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to. Yeah.
So
Well,
that was Batman Cacophony.
that was a good one. That was
So
a good one.
Brock. I mean, I know it was a little on the beak, but what are you going to share with us today, my friend?
What I am going to share with you is something that is a little small series because of a recent movie that came out. And it really got me interested in this character. Here lately, in the last 5 years, I've been trying to pick characters that aren't Superman.
Sure.
They're not Batman. None of the big major 4 or 5, whatever you would say, Flash, fucking Green Lantern, stuff like that. Even though I do read some of those, but I look for these characters that are really rich in history and but yet again, they're just not as popular.
Right.
You know, and especially in the late 80s, there's been John Ostrander did so much fucking good shit. But it introduced you, and he usually ended up taking over so many different titles. And this was one of them that he ended up taking over, but this one started as a limited series.
Right.
Because it started as a limited series in 89.
What's the name of that?
It is called Hawkworld. And the movie that was Prince Adam.
Black Adam?
Yes, Black Adam. Because Hawkman was in it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, this fucking character is badass. He's got this nth metal shit, whatever, right? Who the fuck is Hawkman? And I mean, he really seems stupid. I mean, honestly, on paper, a dude that wears fucking wings and looks like a hawk and doesn't wear any clothes. I mean, honestly, he does look like a stupid character. He really...
When was the first time you ever saw Hawkman?
Oh, wow. What was the fucking cartoon?
Okay.
Yeah, back in the day, and you saw
Super
Hawkman.
Friends?
Yeah, Super
Yeah,
Friends.
yeah.
And he had the mace. I mean, and I never knew he was from another planet, but the original Hawkman wasn't.
Yeah.
And this one, which is really good, is because I did one of those, what's the best Hawkman stories?
Sure.
And it came up, and this one was in the thread. It was like, if you really want to read a really good story, it's the Hawkworld. And I was thinking, oh, okay, well, I looked it up and I saw the covers and it was like, man, this is like a fucking heavy metal magazine. The everything just on the front of it, I'm like, damn.
Looked like a sci-fi mag.
Yeah, it really did match it. But this one, the imagery on the inside of it, the story, the characters, everything, you could really literally, it reads like a movie. And a lot of good comic books will read like a movie because you can see it in your head and you can see how they can build upon that world. Hawkworld is one of them. So, of course, the original Hawkman was Carter Hall.
Yes.
And this guy's name is Carter Hall.
So the original Hawkman was something to do with Egypt, correct?
I think
Or
so.
Sumeria, somewhere in that area, like
And then
a princess and a prince. Or...
Yeah, and then there was another one that they retconned where he invented the nth metal to give him flight.
Oh.
Yeah. This one just kind of like, no.
So let's forget all that.
They have their own world. They're from a Hawk world.
Is that Thangar?
Yeah, but they call it Hawk World, and they call all the worlds that they conquer Hawk Worlds, and Earth is kind of like a Hawk World.
Okay.
So it is Thanagar, no problem. And this Carter Hall's name is spelled Katarhol.
Okay.
So when I look at it, I'm like, Qatar Hall. And Shira, it's Shayera Thal.
Okay.
They're the main people in this, but it starts.
So that would be Hawkman and Hawkgirl, basically.
Yes,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
And the way this starts out in the world that they're painting is almost kind of like Northam with Magnus Robot Fighter,
Okay.
where they have these giant spires. But the Hawk world, Thanagar, is only like one piece of land. It's a very, very small piece of land. They can build islands it says. But why would they do that when they could just build to the sky?
I see.
So Carter Hall's dad, which was they take the first name, which is the last name of their father or their
his
parent.
Dad's name was Hall and Oates.
It was like Paul Qatar or something like that. Yeah. It was like Paul Qatar. It was something weird like that, right?
Okay.
But he's a super privileged dude because his dad invented the flight.
Okay.
Got all these rich people, and pretty much what the Thanagarians do is they go to these different worlds and they conquer these worlds. And if they don't succumb to them, like being like, hey, let's trade, they're like, fuck you, and they take over.
Okay.
So you basically have the Goth level people that are down at the very bottom of the world.
Okay.
Right? And those guys are like, they're all the alien immigrants that they just grab up for slave labor.
Wow.
So they don't have to do shit. So you have this underground kind of a deal. It's not necessarily underground, but it's on the bottom level where the aristocrats do not go to. The politicians do not go to. But they have these hawkmen that go down there and they fucking clean up shit.
Okay.
Carter Hall is like...
So they're like enforcers?
Technically.
Like
they're like a police...
almost?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
like a specialized police force.
Okay.
So Carter Hall starts off as... You know, he's a rich kid and he defies all of what they're like, why didn't you just take a desk job? And he's like, and he's a historian. This Carter Hall is.
Okay.
So he knows about history and how there's this one character that's really not in it, but it's kind of like this one dude that saved Thanagar at one point, and he was kind of looked at like a god, and all of his statues are down there, and he believes in the old ways.
Okay.
But nobody else does, you know? So they're important, you know, they're no longer is Thanagar making anything for themselves. They're using the slave labor. They're getting it from other planets. It's basically America in a sense.
Okay.
Right? So, you know, you're bringing people over these conquered worlds. It's everything that you would ever know in any kind of story like that, right? And they're coming over... And they're getting princes and princesses and kings and queens, and they're fucking them all up, and they don't give a shit about them. And these hawkmen have to come down and they have to enforce bullshit, right? So if they have a cache of guns or something like that, they got to go after them.
Okay.
So Carter is part of this one team, and everybody's like, oh, whatever, you know, you're a piece of shit because you did this. And they're like, oh, well, he's going to die. You know, they're thinking he's going to die. So they have this one ruler, right? Or this one dude, I forgot what his name was, but Bith. Yeah, Captain Bith. He's basically he's kind of turning everybody against each other.
Okay.
And even in their ships, their airships, imagine a helicopter, like a fucking Huey, no propeller blades and no tail. That's their kind of drop ships.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And it looks really military. It looks military as fuck, but they can jump out because they have their wings, right?
Sure.
And the higher up that you are in the Hawkmen, because it's no longer just like one champion like it used to be, or like it is the champion on Earth, right? The higher up, you get more wings on your helmet, right?
Oh.
So Carter Hall's is like nothing.
Okay.
But you put on Bith has like 3 or 4 or something like that, and they all got different outfits, and they can all use these special weapons, but they're using energy-based weapons, different things like that, right? And Carter Hall is like, he's one of the dudes that's like fucking hand-to-hand samurai sword type shit, you know?
Okay.
And Bith, he's into drugs because they're getting all these drugs supposedly from other worlds.
Okay.
And we're talking like antipsychotics. We're talking about, like pet pills and shit like that, you know? So one of the guys that's actually in charge of him is like, hey, you need to lip one of these things, is how he says. Like, lip one of these things and you'll feel better. At first he's like, nah, fuck it. I'm not going to get involved with this drug, whatever. You know, I'm pure. Pretty soon though, he starts in every one of the, cause he has to go to all the engagements and shit like that, but he sees the fucking shit. The shit down on the street level.
Right.
And he's like, and these people are just fighting for food, you know, which is fucked up. So they're at a bar one point, and it's really high up, and there's this one alien that's serving them drinks, but Shira, she bumps into him and is like, you need to fire this dude. And of course he's like, well, you know, this guy had to work his ass off to get to where he is right now, this high up.
Right.
And now they're just going to cast him out. That's fucked up. Send him down there. His whole family's going to go down there. He's going to fucking die, right?
Right.
Meantime, there's another princess that's giving birth, to another heir to the throne. She's a queen.
Okay.
Instead of a princess. And they have no medicine. They have nothing. Because the top worlders, the main people are just fucking totally suppressing them.
Gotcha.
And it's literally like, if you look at it, that's one of the themes. It's like this, I don't know.
Like the division, societal division kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
They, you have these hierarchical people, and then you have the shit.
Right.
It's like middle class for us now. Yeah, the politicians and the middle class. So, and not a lot of people are fighting back. But yet he sees a lot of this shit. He sees Bith. Bith takes this one kind of drug too that changes his fucking physiology.
Okay.
To where he can control every part of his body and shape it into this weird shit. And like one time he's like the Thing, but controllable Thing. So think about the Thing from John Carpenter's movie, right?
Okay.
Think about that. Think about
Rocky?
think about how weird that shit is, right?
Yeah.
He can do that at will. Whenever he wants to. It's fucked up, right? And he can kill
like
whatever.
A mouth come out of his stomach and shit.
Yep. Eyeballs in his fucking, nipples and shit like that, just weird shit. But
this
is Captain Bith.
Okay.
And basically the he gets kicked out of this, right? And cuz he wants to help him, so he gets kicked out of the wingman. But then eventually they bring him back, and he's given, and it's, oh, no. What really happens is he gets framed. Bith frames him and makes him kill his own father.
Oh, wow.
So his own father was actually supplying goods, medicines, everything like that for the lower level people. And his father was a big intellectual, but nobody really listened to him after he created the technology that they had, right? So they didn't give a shit. So he was actually down there, and they get political in a couple of ways, to where they're pretty much just talking about how, different classes, this and that, and that's when that one, alien gets bumped, and they're like, oh my God, he's a piece of shit, fucking fire him. You need to fucking give me money. And him and his dad, are on the same page. But he kind of fucks up because he goes after this one. They know that there's guns in this one place. Well, the guns were released too, in a weird way.
Okay.
Quotes. Like they were put out there on the street, by probably Bith or somebody in the wingman, just to get him to get action, to kill all the people. He's just a wicked dude, right?
Right.
So he gets tried, but not necessarily tried for killing his father. Bith just made it happen like that so he could fucking be like, you're fucked up. He ends up killing somebody else, and then he throws him on an island for 10 fucking years.
Throws
Carter Hall on an island. No wings, nothing. And it's a bare island, but it's an island that they've had around for hundreds of years, but people have supposedly forgot about it. But it's like a secret gulag type of a deal. So
like the island.
Yeah, so he gets there, and there's two other people on there, but they're these weird, different kind of aliens, right? More spiritual aliens. And he notices one of them is making wings, like literally stitching wings together and stuff. And he goes up to that guy, and he fucking ends up killing him. But these guys are monks. So the main monk comes up, and he's like, listen, he was building those for you. And he's like, oh shit, pretty much like, fuck, what did I do? And he's like, no. It's okay, because he knew that you needed those, and he knew you would do this. We've been here for so long, they basically forgot about us. Right. And so he learns all kinds of shit from this dude, and eventually learns to fly again.
Okay.
With these fucking fake ass wings and shit. So he ends up going back. They reinstate him because they come pick him up, and he's like, how long have I been here? They're like, 10 years. I'm like, fucking 10 years. And in that time, Shira becomes one of the Hawkmen. Or the Hawk women, and they're kind of more. It's more of the it's worse down on that level. So he decides, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna become what my dad was. So he starts a hospital and all this other stuff, and kind of basically Bith comes after him, and he ends up banning Bith from the whole fucking Hawkworld society, but he escapes to Earth.
Okay.
You know, in a way, and of course he uses all like a lot of the old stuff.
How does he kick him off Hawkworld?
Basically, he like, oh man, he ends up fucking fighting him all the way through, and then somehow he escapes him.
Okay.
Yeah, and
so it wasn't like Doctrine that he's kicked off this planet. He just left because he didn't want to get his ass kicked anymore.
Pretty much,
Sure.
and he's on all those drugs too. So, but we come to find out that the drugs were made down there, from there, the aliens, all their stuff, and he's introducing them up to those people. So everybody up above is addicted to drugs. They're lazy, fucked up. They don't give a shit. But Carter Hall's like, fuck that, right? So they find out he goes to Earth, and that's how the Hawkworld series begins.
Okay.
So they go to Earth as emissaries, Carter Hall and Shira, and that's when they have to take out everybody. And they're kind of like diplomatic immunity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're kind of like that. So, I mean, it's a good setup to see. And I mean, he knows he kills his own dad. Fucking, he's
Kills some monk that was making wings for him.
fucking
Some
everything.
bullshit.
Yeah, he kills a lot of shit, dude. And ends up like, I don't know, just like stopping Bith. But yet Bith is like, nah, I ain't gonna let that happen. And he ends up going to Earth, and they end up going to Earth because they get assigned, right? Whatever.
Their sector.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, they do talk about that too. They did talk about, because this is when the Green Lantern Corps was done with, I think.
Okay.
In the late 80s, early 90s, maybe 1989, something like that. So that's it. It's fucking Hawkworld. If you read this one compared to like the campy stuff, this one's real in a way that they're introducing. It's not a fish out of water.
Sounds like heavier subject matter for sure.
Yes. And the guy that wrote it, I haven't really seen him write a lot of other stuff. His name is Timothy Truman. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, but Ostrander takes over later on.
In a regular ongoing series.
Yeah. Shit.
So I was going to say that the Shiera, whatever her name is, Hole, Holl, or Hol, right?
Yes, technically, yeah.
That's the same name and spelling as the one from the Justice League animated series.
See?
Where she actually is part of the invasion. Like, come to find out, like, there's a whole thing in that storyline where she's, like, kind of sides with her homeworld when they invade Thanagar.
Yeah, she's Carter, or he's Carter Hall. She's Shiera Thal.
Thal. Okay,
her
so it's
father was
different. I think
Thal.
his was
Yeah.
Hol.
Yeah,
In the
HOL.
in the animated series.
And I've gone through, I don't know, about 2 years of the other series, and it's actually been pretty good.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah. I thought it was fucking great. It was a great introduction into this. The art was really good. It really reminded me again of like a longer heavy metal story.
Yeah.
But it's a character that's well established in the DC universe. But then come to find out too that the Carter Hall that was on Earth was a descendant of there that invented the nth metal. So it's like bam, 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 bam.
I'll be honest. Like, I'm glad that you did this because, like, I get so confused with the Hawkman, Hawkgirl stuff where I'm like, so are they from Egypt? What is happening?
Or is it Thanagar? Because there's been
there's
what's crazy about
every
it
time
too,
it's rebooted, there's like some kind of weird mixture.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know.
You got the Rand-Thanagar War.
Right.
And the Thanagarians are like assholes. But yeah, and I was reading a new book. I was reading that Adam Strange one. And they have a really badass hawk woman. Her name is like Valkyrie or something like that. It's a variation of Valkyrie. But she has, her fucking wings are badass, right? And her hawk outfit is fucking cool as shit. But she's like all black, everything. And you could use these people.
Right.
But they do use them because that whole area where Ran is, and then you got the Omega Men, and then you got the fucking Green Lantern Corps, then you got the fucking Rebels or Legion. You have that whole other part of the universe that's everywhere that all interacts.
Holy shit. So I didn't know who your Timothy Truman guy was. So he's written a lot of Conan, Star Wars comics. Obviously, one of the biggest thing, like a lot of it is the Hawk stuff as well. But some Khazar, some weird off stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I'm pulling this up right now. But he wrote the Unearthed Arcana for Dungeons and Dragons back in 1985.
It's fucking crazy, huh?
What?
Yeah. No, I saw that earlier too. I was like, Jesus Christ. Damn. No wonder he didn't do that much.
Oh, he was one of the illustrators for it.
Oh,
that makes way more sense because
okay.
the author was Gary Gygax.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I noticed
that's
he was
weird
on that
that he
shit,
worked
yeah.
on that.
Oh, it's weird, yeah.
Friend of the show, sometimes host, Mitch, weird side here, wants to do a role-playing game.
We need to do it.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool.
Yeah, might as well.
We got some shit.
Yeah.
We're ready to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was Hawkman. In
Hawkman.
Hawkworld.
Hawkworld, yeah.
So
So
if
those
you-
a 4-parter? Three-parter.
Three.
Three-parter.
If you want to get into Hawkman, or if you're interested, this is a good place to start.
Well, I think it's very timely, like you said, with the Black Adam show. And they did kind of make him pretty cool in that movie.
Yeah, he was badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this Carter Hall was like, "Oh, I'm fucking badass."
The one in the book?
In the movie.
In the movie, yeah.
This one, he's more...
Yeah, he's like already, like, I'm just a badass and I've seen it all.
Yeah, this one, it's like, I have this fucking love for all of our ancient heroes, the ones that turned Thanagar around, the ones that built pretty much everything, and we were a peace-loving people, and then we start taking over fucking worlds. Right. And in that one, and in fucking Black Adam, he's like, look at me, I got wings, bitch.
Look, I live at the X-Men place.
Well, they take their fucking
Welcome to
wings
Westchester.
yeah, they take their fucking wings off in this, and they
Okay.
hold them on their arms.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more primitive, and it doesn't all like
Right.
go into their backpack or some shit, But the
Handy dandy.
yeah, and that's why you get to see like Hawkman not using energy weapons most of the time. He's using fucking maces and stuff.
Do they
like
talk
that.
about the nth metal in that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Little
Not
bit.
much.
Not much.
Not much. They don't really. I mean, it's not a major part of it.
Okay.
Which I'm glad they're kind of they make it to where it
That's why death metal was made.
it's really cool that they have that aspect of it, because it really reminds me in the way that the hierarchy is again in Magnus Robot Fighter, and that's a story, and that's a
So, it sounds very
something.
similar.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that I really, really like,
Yeah.
Except for he wasn't made to destroy robots, which you know what? The original Magnus was really good. This one wasn't campy, didn't have any camp. It was grit.
Right.
And it was really like fucking, you could see it. You could see him like taking these drugs and drop shipping, like fucking, and then all these Hawkmen come out and fucking start shooting everybody and stuff. It's fucking badass.
Okay.
So it's a really good series. And that would be like the second time that I read it.
Nice.
So yeah, that's one of those, it's like, damn, I didn't know this existed. and now everything's so intertwined. They brought more of the Thanagar and everything like that to the forefront. And then, of course, like I said, that Ran Thanagar War. God, they're everywhere in that sector or whatnot. Yeah, and they knew that they could do pretty much whatever they wanted to at that point.
Right.
But really cool. Hawkworld.
So we've had some Batman, we had some Hawkman, Hawkworld, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Whole world of Hawk folk. No, that's pretty interesting, man. Like I said, there's a lot of confusion for me on that character. Like I get very confused on, because wasn't the original Hawkman like part of the Justice Society?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that's not this Hawkman.
Nope. No.
Okay. Is this a different world? Like a different universe?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, the way that they tied that is they were like, he was a descendant that ended up on Earth.
Gotcha.
In a weird fucking way.
A descendant?
Oh, he was like,
Or an ancestor?
He was part of them somehow, and somehow he was on Earth, and when he was on Earth, he invented the nth stuff.
And then it got back to them?
Yeah. It's fucking
weird.
Yeah, sometimes you're like,
Yeah, that's a lot of convoluted histories out there for comic, especially people that were rebooted over time or retconned, like, which is common, you know, like as we've had characters for 30, 60 years.
And I don't think
you have to do.
I think to continue another Hawkworld based on these characters would be fucking great, you know, because they're human in this.
So in the ongoing series, how many issues are there?
Oh shit! How many did it end up being? I think it was like 3 years, 90 to 93. So it would be 36, 38 issues, somewhere around there, if you include annuals and shit.
Sure. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Which again, 1989 to 1996 was all Ostrander. He's got to be one of the best writers for DC ever. Just everything he's fucking done is amazing. And
he's great for sure.
Yeah, Hawkworld ongoing. Yeah, Carter Hall, Fell, Andar. I don't know all of them. There's just so many fucking.
There's a lot of Hawk folks.
Yeah, there's a lot of hockeys.
Little hockeys out there.
Well, that new story that I was reading had that one Hawk woman in it, and you're like, damn, she looks like a fucking badass, you know?
Yeah.
Like a necro hawk. That's pretty fucking cool,
necro
you know? What I mean?
Hawk.
It's like she's like, I got such sights to show you.
Is she related to Dark Hawk?
I don't know. That guy, he had like
90s.
He had one good something.
I don't know. Apparently his comic's worth money now. I'm like, how? Yeah. Couldn't get rid of those when I was collecting comics in the 90s.
No. Everybody was like, hey, did you buy a bag of cereal? Cool.
Cool, you got Dark Hawk number 1 and Sleepwalker number 1.
Here's Exo Man War. Those are the ones you can still buy at the Dollar Tree.
Right?
It's the shit they tried to sell in Belize, and they're like, nah, we ain't buying this shit. So they sent them back to the Dollar Tree.
That's right. We couldn't even sell these for toilet paper. We made so many of them because of the 90s.
It was the 90s, bro.
I mean, we had, 1 million commits. So we made 5 million. Perfect.
Well, is there anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think that really covers it. I think that was kind of fun just to jump through a couple little runs, and we'll do this going forward. Like I said, as we do it going forward, though, we are going to add a what if at the end of each one. I think that'll be fun as well, and then we can talk about how we want to build that world out from that what if.
Man, you know what? We should almost have a what if. Make our own.
Build our own what if?
I
feel like we do that all the time.
Pretty much. You're right. Sometimes I'm dumb.
No, I don't think you're dumb. I just think that we do that shit.
We've done it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we make our own Batman stories? We did.
I think my favorite was our crossovers that we made.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. It's cool going through these. I mean, a lot of people do comic book podcasts and pop culture podcasts, but mixing a lot of this different stuff like this is fun.
Yeah.
Because it's what we enjoy,
Yeah, exactly.
We have no constraints.
No.
So
we do what we want.
If anybody out there is listening to this too, what would be awesome is your suggestions for limited series that you think are a major part of what the character is.
That's right.
Like these right here. I mean,
nothing over 12 issues.
Yeah, a year. Yeah, a year is a long enough time. They fucking did the Watchmen.
I feel like a lot of the crises and things like that are 12 main issues, or depends on, I guess, when it was. But
yeah, they go.
If it goes any more than that, you're like, I'm not reading all these tie-ins. You're crazy.
Yeah, you guys are dumb.
Atlantis Attacks was like 20 something books, and they did it in every annual for every character you didn't give a shit about. But we are going to dig into some older ones and some newer ones. As we do these episodes going forward, but I do believe our next episode will be a movie or some such thing.
Probably, yeah. Mayhaps it is, mayhap it isn't.
That's right.
MOON spells podcast. All right.
It's that good schooling.
It is. Texas schools. All right. Later, dudes.
Peace. How long was that?
An hour and 15.
Nice. That's tight.
Perfect.